Ubisoft and The Division 2 surprised us today with it was a last-minute heads-up live stream. The Division tweeted out, I don't know, what was it, 15 minutes before going live, that this was even happening. So this was a very, last-minute thing to show people. Now, a lot of you, I'm sure, missed this live stream. And, well, in this video, I'm going to catch you up to speed on everything that happened. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this video. What's going on, YouTube? Kamikazevondoom here with some breaking news regarding The Division 2. So sit back, relax, grab that popcorn, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know what you think in the comments section below. But in this video, we're going to show everything Ubisoft News did and said with Yannick, the creative director for The Division 2. Now, this is a celebration live stream that Ubisoft is still doing right now as I make this video. However, the portion of the live stream where they are interviewing Yannick just ended. So I will show you all of that footage to catch you up to speed on what's going on, but I want to give you just a short little summary. Basically, this is a celebration stream. So they are celebrating year 5 of The Division 2. So what Chris and Yusuf at Ubisoft, they are playing The Division 2 while interviewing Yannick at the same time. So they're going to talk about where The Division 2 has come, how The Division 2 was about to die and then it was revamped, how the community has been loyal throughout this entire time, and what to look forward to in the future regarding the Brooklyn DLC. So there are a lot of juicy details in here. I'm not going to break down all of them right now. I just want to play you the footage. That way you can see for yourself and catch up to speed. And then I can do a future video where we break down and dissect exactly what was said about X, Y, and Z. But without further ado, I'm just going to play you exactly what was just aired on Ubisoft News with Yannick, the creative director. Now, as always, if you find this video helpful or informative in any way, shape, or form, please hit that thumbs up, support the channel by subscribing, and make sure you ring that notification bell because we do daily Division videos. But without further ado, let's roll that footage. Take care of yourself. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm Kamikazevondoom. Peace out. And, yeah, roll that footage.
Hello everyone and welcome to Ubisoft News Plays. I am your host Chris Waters. Today we're playing The Division 2 because it's The Division 2's 5th year anniversary. I'm joined by my co-host Yusuf Magid.
Chris, it's always a pleasure to be here playing The Division 2 with you, and happy birthday, happy 5th birthday Division 2.
Happy 5th birthday to Division 2, and we'll direct that congratulations to our guest, creative director Yannick Bonchero. Yannick, thanks so much for joining us on the stream today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's great. It's good to be talking about Division 2 and watching you play.
Yeah, we are playing, Yusuf and I, and Yannick's just riding along so we can grill him with questions all stream long, and some of your questions as well. Today's stream is mostly going to be focused on, looking back at the Division 2, how far the game has come, sort of talking about some high points throughout the life of the game, talking about where it's at now, and a little bit about what's to come. But I know y'all are curious if there's going to be any announcements or stuff like that today. So Yannick, let's address that question right now. What is coming from the Division 2? What announcements have y'all made? So for folks to just kind of have that context about what's up next.
Well, right now we're on the game. We're currently in Season 3 of Year 5. This is the final season of the 5th year of content for the game. We've already announced that there's going to be a Year 6 with 3 seasons in that year. And amongst other things, what we're going to be doing in Year 6 is a complete revamp of our seasons and the end game of the game. So there's a lot of changes that are going to be coming with that. I'm not going to talk in details about this here, but in the future we will. And of course also the big thing this year is going to be a completely brand new DLC bringing us to Brooklyn.
That's right, the Brooklyn DLC coming later this year.
Oh, yes.
I'm stoked for that for sure. And so that's going to be, that's kind of our look ahead. So just to set y'all's expectations about what we're talking about today. But we are also going to look to the past. Here we are in Washington, D.C., the place where the Division 2 began. And shout out to y'all in chat. I see we've got Hamish Bode in there, a Division legend in his own right. Glad to have you in here. What's up, Chastity? What's up, Kamikaze? S3B, yeah, I'm adjusting the game audio a little bit just so the pew pew does. Oh wait, lower it, or is it too low? We're dialing it in here so y'all can hear what we're saying and not get drowned out, but also, hear the exciting sounds of the Division 2. Okay, we're fighting in DC. Yannick, take us back a little bit to the genesis of the Division 2. Division is set in New York. It's wintertime. What were the kind of main things, the big pillars, the big all right, for Division 2, we're gonna make this game that were the focus?
Well, there were a lot of learnings with Division 1, a lot of things that Division 1 did right, and some things also that could have been done better or that we wanted to do better. So we took all of that with us and started working on Division 2 very early on. And even before thinking about setting, about story, the one thing that was very clear for us was to make sure that Division 2 would be endgame first. And that was really the mantra for the entire development of the game. It was, we want to ship a game that's going to be a live game, that's going to be lasting for as long as we can. And we want to make sure that at launch there will be an end game, and there will be a lot of things to do in this game, and motivations and everything you would expect to make sure that players can from the beginning engage for a very long time and find a lot of things to do. So that was really the one driving force here. And then, of course, we wanted to move away from New York and try a different setting. Explored a bunch of different places. Actually, there's other cities that were explored, but the idea of going to Washington DC, the seat of power, and all those iconic locations was just so appealing that it didn't take long to make that decision. And moving also away from winter, which I know a lot of people miss, but on the other hand, after several years of playing Division 1 and working on Division 1 and all you see is snow, we wanted a bit of change of tone here and have something that was a bit warmer. So change to moving forward in the timeline, bringing the summer and trying to explore what would the Washington DC look like month after the outbreak and the collapse.
Many
a
months
lot of
too,
interesting
right?
thematics. Many months,
It's a different kind of maturity of the whole situation, and there's been different waves of conflict that you then peel away like layers of the onion, and we're still doing that here into year 5. Thanks for chat, folks. All tuning in about the game sound. I tuned it down a little bit. Let me know if that is good for you. Also, before we continue, I just wanted to mention, if y'all are, a few of you mentioned having an issue with a server or a tech issue with the Division. We've got some support links for you to check out in the chat that our mod will be sharing. And that includes the Division Trello board, as well as Ubisoft support. And, it's always a good idea to check the Division social channels for the most updated and latest information on that stuff.
Yeah, as much as I would love to solve everybody's issue live on stream, I'm afraid I would not be able to do that.
Come on.
Well, Yannick, I have to say,
end.
you solved some of my issues, and they're not really issues, more of a skill issue than anything else. When we first got on the call, we were like, okay, Chris and I, part of our jobs is playing all Ubisoft games, so we can't always devote ourselves to mastering the meta of everything. And so we hopped on. We were like, okay, you mentioned our builds weren't necessarily meta. We were like, okay, what is meta? How do we optimize with what we have? And you were like, okay, what you want to do right now, striker gear set. You want to optimize for damage, high damage output. And I'm already noticing a huge difference from when Chris and I were playing.
Feeling powerful already.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
there's
go
ahead, Yannick, sorry.
There are some, I mean, striker is always popular and it's always efficient. So it's usually a safe one to go with when you don't really know what to equip in order to play all those activities.
Yeah, and I mean, you were mentioning this too before we streamed, but the Division fan base and players are so devoted and so knowledgeable that oftentimes when Chris and I stream, they're the ones coming in here and serving that purpose for us of, oh, hey, you should go this, you should try that, you should spec this way. And so it's I'm glad to have the firsthand knowledge too from the creative director.
Well, respect to you, because playing Division in front of a Division audience, assuming there's a lot of Division players watching, it's always intimidating. We used to do that back then. If Hamish is still watching, he will remember all the gameplay streams we used to do. And that was always a bit tough, because when you work on the game and then you're showing your skills at playing the game in front of a crowd that is usually, way more expert at the game than you are, it's always a bit of an exercise. So yeah, respect. But you're doing good.
We're hanging in there. And we're playing on hard. I see some folks saying, play on heroic. We got a chat too. So, maybe we'll take on something a little tougher in the stream. Next stream, right? We'll do you'll see it in the title. Heroic, sweaty Division 2 stream. You watch Ubisoft News really totally kill it, is what
Solo Legendary, says Patrick Wolf.
Patrick, let's go. We've got and so Yusuf answered his build question. I am trying out for the first time these Ninja Bike knee pads, which reload my weapon whenever I perform a cover-to-cover move or vaulting. So with a shotgun, that seems like a really fun kind of thing to play around with. So I'm doing that, and then I have Hunter's Fury as well, which rewards like shotgun damage and also being up close to people. So that's why you see me running around in my snow ghillie suit like a maniac.
So it's good for camo, so you can sneak close and the NPCs won't see you thanks to that suit.
You think that the snow ghillie suit is for winter, but no, it's for police vehicles. Look at this. Can't tell anyone's there.
Not see you. Just disappeared.
Where'd he go? If only he hadn't put molten lava skin on his shotgun.
It's a flying shotgun. I don't know.
Exactly. How's it floating like that?
Oh man,
Chris, I've fast traveled back to the settlement.
Okay. I'm gonna walk over there because I really like. We're walking by the planetarium now. This is one of my favorite missions from the Division 2. We're in DC now. We're gonna travel to New York City shortly, and of course that's with the Warlords of New York expansion. But Yannick, once the game was out there, once the game, let's take it back again. You have people. You have people like delving into it, exploring it, reacting to it. What were some of the things that you realized like early on were really resonating with folks that you were like, okay, yeah, all right, we got this?
Well, I think the one thing first, it's tough to actually put a game out there, especially when you work for several years on it. The moment you reveal it and you share it with everyone, then it's there's that moment where it's like not your hidden secret baby anymore. But people were very positive about it, and some of the changes we announced and things we did. So it was like, okay, it sounds like we're going in the right direction. I think one of the things that's not a feature in particular, but the one thing that was really that felt really good when the game launched is just first the quality in general. Like we had a very smooth launch, which for online games and live games is not always a given. So it's and that's just credit to the team and all the work that was put and all the learnings from Division 1. So that was great. But it's people enjoyed a lot of the changes we did. I think the new missions you mentioned, the Air and Space Museum. I think that's one of my favorite missions as well. That's one of the most memorable one you have when you begin. I think with Division 2 we really try to think of every space and how can we create surprises and spaces that feel unique, but still in a context of a believable world. So I think that mission is a great example. And people had a lot of fun and then engaged with the end game. And not everything was here, but we had an end game that was already compelling. So yeah, it was great to see that all those ideas we had on paper and that again all those learnings we applied from the first game actually paid off, and we made a more complete game.
Yeah, I remember it, thinking back 5 years, I got to go to Washington DC because of the Division 2 and see it and see how the world was recreated here, and it's something that even again 5 years later never ceases to amaze me as you just walk around, just how gorgeous the recreation is. How many I'm just from putting my like tourist hat on, just like how accurate, how many sites there are here. And then one thing I was saying to Chris, just like how many assets there are. Like, I mean, like that's a maybe technical way to put it, but there's just so much out in the world that really just makes it feel like lived in, and like it tells this story that of what happened with the dollar flu and how DC got to this state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's very dense, and of course, when I think the Division being also a Tom Clancy game, it's a lot about authenticity, and when we rebuild a city, we want to make sure that it is as accurate as possible. And with this one in particular, with Division 2, it is very accurate. It is to scale as well. So you can pretty much, you could almost take a Google map and put it, overlay it on the map of the game, and you would have exactly the same streets. So there's everywhere we could, we just reused things from the real world. There are places where we had to, of course, make a few changes. But and then the great thing with the Division is just, we take every space and we work in layers. So we have the first layer, which is, okay, that's the city, and that's how the city was. And then we have the layer of, okay, what happened during the outbreak when the dollar flu took place. This is the layer of, okay, now we have the Syria camps, and we have, the first settlements and these kind of things. And then we have the layer on top of it, okay, now the factions take over. So on top of that, now we add another layer of storytelling of now the factions took over. Did they reuse the Syria camps? Did they destroy them? Did they burn it? So it was, all those layers, every single street, every single corner has all those layers and all those thought behind that. All the artists can try to create their own micro stories in all those environments, and it creates something extremely rich and dense. And everywhere you look, there is a story.
And speaking of that story, those layers are not remaining static. We're 5 years into the Division and going on to 6, and here we are entering the castle settlement, which is kind of emblematic of, you are still changing this game, you are still telling stories in this game. Yes. And for those who haven't checked in a while, I see some folks are saying like, hey, I haven't played Division 2 in a while, like what's new, what's going on? The castle settlement here is kind of a nexus for some of that new stuff. You want to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you remember, for people who played the Division, if you haven't, that's a spoiler, but hopefully not a big one. But when you go to the castle settlement, when you arrive as part of the story, the settlement has been destroyed. It was attacked by the True Sons and destroyed. And it stayed like that for when you reach the end game and you play in the end game, and the map stays the same. But we've always wanted to eventually go back to this settlement and rebuild it, because that's what people would do. They would go back to that space and use it because it's a good space. And we did that in year 5. So with season 1 and 2, we decided to actually start rebuilding it. So as you played, as players played the seasons, they could unlock upgrades and watch the settlement being rebuilt in real time, almost as you play through the seasons. And now we have a fully functioning settlement there. And this is a permanent change that we made to the world, and that was an intention for us to also communicate the fact that you are there, you are making a difference. The Division is making a difference. This world is alive, and it reacts to all the good work that the Division agents are doing. So it was important for us to not tell our story just through the activities and the missions of the seasons and the manhunts, but also actually reflect that in permanent changes in the map. And this is, of course, the most noticeable one that we've done.
Well, thank you for giving me the perfect opportunity to slow walk through the environment. It's one of my favorite things to do on stream. And also, when I play, I'm not just doing this for the stream, folks. I do this when I play, and that's probably why I don't beat games that frequently. And I don't know if you have music on, but we also have a new music track in the castle settlement, and it's pretty good. I caught some moments of it. I think the game volume is a little lower now because of all the bang we were doing earlier. But so that's the castle settlement here in DC. And of course, as we zoom out, we see, and I'm picking up some quests there that I haven't quite had set yet. But in addition to kind of the go further afield main missions, the game has continued to expand over the years, the raid, incursions, etc. And of course, no expansion bigger than the Warlords of New York one.
Yes.
What were you kind of like? You're in DC, you've built this whole thing, and then you're working on this big, New York expansion back to New York in the summertime. What was the dream for Warlords of New York, that expansion, which came out just a year after the launch of the Division 2?
Well, I mean, we went to DC, but it's, the Division, it's always connected to New York in a way. This is where it began. This is where the fantasy started. This is where, the dollar flu actually started. So it was very clear that we would go back to New York at some point anyway, but there's always connection to that city. And it was very interesting for us to also go back there, but show what happened since the events of Division 1. So we didn't go to the same streets, but we at least wanted to show new layers of transformation, what happened to New York after pretty much most of the agents left. If you remember the story of Division 2, all the agents are called to Washington, D.C. There is a distress signal that comes from Washington, D.C., and all agents are summoned to regroup in Washington, D.C. So a lot of agents left New York and left any other places where they might have been. So we wanted to tell that story also of what happened in the meantime then in New York once the agents were gone, and how did New York actually fare without the help of the Division. And people are tough and they survived, but of course it's been hard. It's been very hard for them. And there was also a hurricane that took place.
That's right. That whole washed out area down by the water. Yeah, exactly.
So if you go by the water, you will see that. So we have that also that story. So it's been tough, but people have survived and they've banded together, formed a new settlement in Haven, and at least I remember my first experience when we started building Warlords of New York, and the first time I actually, loaded a build internally and went there, and it was still work in progress, and there was a lot of gray boxes everywhere, but still the streets were here, the high buildings, and the first feeling I got going there was like, I'm home. It just felt right. So it was really satisfying to actually be able to go back there and revisit New York in summer 6 months later.
Rogue agent detected.
And
Cot yes, we are taking questions. And then Blu-ray asks Yannick, when is the next DLC? If someone, you mentioned it early on in our stream, but if someone is just tuning in, do you mind giving a little bit of an update on the future of the Division 2?
Yeah, of course. So as we said, we have 3 seasons coming in year 6, and the DLC has been announced as part of season 3 of year 6. So that's going to be towards the end of the year. And when we talk year, we talk content year or fiscal year. So that's that's after the end of the calendar year. We don't have any date announced yet, but that's going to be towards the end of the 6th year of content, where we're going to be releasing the new DLC in Brooklyn. And prior to that, as I mentioned, the next, there's a couple of things we're working on that we haven't announced yet, but the one we have announced, the big thing we have announced, is the revamp of the seasons. So this one is going to be coming before that for second season. Please don't die.
There's a rogue agent detected. Sorry, you were answering the question, and so I was like, I'm trying to warn Yusuf about it's about to get spicy, but I didn't try hard enough.
That's gonna be a tough one.
Sorry, Yusuf. You seem to be fairly dead.
Yeah, I'm completely dead. I'm responding at a safe house.
100% dead. Okay. All right.
I died twice. I got my revive hive popped even.
So speaking of,
there's 2 rogue agents.
Yeah, there's 2. Yusuf, can you go?
You got this.
I'm coming back. I'm running.
Oh, is that? No, that's not 3. That's 2 of them over there together.
Oh, there are 3. There's 3.
There's 3.
Yeah, okay, I think it's always a group size plus 1, I think. So.
Oh, no! We don't go close with rogue agents. Okay, all right. get around the corner.
Possibly go wrong. No.
So speaking of, manhunts, you've mentioned them in terms of the seasonal content updates. We're doing the one right now. Something strange has happened with Alani Kelso, of course, a longtime Division 2 character that folks will know. And in terms of these kind of stories, what are y'all like? Yeah, I'm trying to be nimble, Kamikaze. We're trying to stay alive. You're really like, I think, and he did this with the Fei Lao season as well, like really leaning into these kind of, the characters, telling stories about the characters people know in the Division universe.
Yeah, absolutely. So we, it was important for us, like when we built the 4th season, the one about Fei Lao, we kind of wanted to conclude our story because back then, we were in a dynamic of wrapping up. And we wanted to conclude the story, so we thought, okay, there was at the end of Warlords of New York, there's the betrayal of Fei Lao, another spoiler, and we wanted to tell that story as part of the seasons. But then when we resumed producing content and updating the game with new seasons, like one thing that was very important for us is, we saw how people connected with the idea, the fantasy of actual, character development and real story progression as part of the seasons. Mm-hmm. So that was one of the first things we agreed on immediately when we started making new seasons. It was like, okay, the seasons will have a story, and we're going to make the story of the game and of the franchise progress from season to season. And so that means also, not hesitating to actually take some of the key characters of the Division 2 and have them play a role in that story. So with that season, so at the end of year 4, Agent Kelso went to New York because there was an attack on the White House, and she went to New York to make sure that New York was safe. And we haven't heard back from her since. So for us players, that means it's been almost a year that she hasn't been in our story. In the game, of course, that's a much shorter period in game time, but still, we haven't heard back from her. So, and now she's gone missing. And so we're going there to try to find out what happened to her, but also keeping this short, a lot of things happen in the meantime on our side, which means that there's a lot of suspicion going on towards Kelso and towards the Division in general. Like we're in a period where people don't know if they can trust the Division anymore. And there are some signs with Kelso that make us question where her allegiance lies. So this is what this season is about. It's about first finding her, but also finding out what has she been up to, what has she been doing in New York, and
Target is nearby.
Is she still with us? Oh, is she still with us? Yeah.
Is she still there, Kelso? I mean, we're tracking down bounties in a wretched hive of scum and villainy here. So there's intrigue, Yannick. Things are going on here. We got to let you go pretty soon. So I want to get into some chat questions here. Yes. First off, kind of broadly, people are asking, as we've talked about, Division fans, very like tuned in to a lot of different elements of the Division, a lot of weapon things, talent things, etc., etc. That kind of like diving down into the details we're not going to have time to get into today, folks. But Yannick, where's a good place for folks to connect if they want to maybe discuss that stuff with other Division 2 fans, or if they want to, voice some of their thoughts to the dev team?
Yeah, well, I think, at least discussing amongst themselves. I think the two places for Division community conversations are usually, the subreddits and Discord. We have an official Discord server as well that people can join to find other players and have discussions. Otherwise on, I don't know how you call that thing these days, Twitter or X.
Sure.
Usually there's a bunch of people that are being active in the community and some devs as well. So it's if there are questions, they can go that way as well.
There you go, folks. And yeah, sorry. Would love to discuss chance to be able to equip 2 exotic weapons at once, or, talking about opening all apparel caches at one time. We definitely see these questions. So can we get vehicles in the Division 2? Look, there's plenty of vehicles in the Division 2.
They're there.
The first 2 are good ideas.
There we go. Look, he's got the questions down. Here we go. Oh my goodness, Christ is asking, do we get more light mods for other weapons and not only pistol? Are you talking about like the flashlight? I remember when that.
Yeah, the flashlight problem.
Yeah. But yeah, Yannick, is there anything to kind of, looking ahead or, reflecting back on the 5th anniversary of the Division 2 that you wanted to kind of get into or mention before we kind of wrap up your time with us here on the stream?
Well, I mean, it's just, it's crazy when you think about it, especially after everything we went through, with Division 2 and the launch and Warlords of New York, which were great. But, the decision to actually sunset the game, and then the decision to not sunset the game, rebuilding a team, restarting the whole production of the game. We didn't talk about that, but to a lot of people in this that are watching, they know the story. And looking at where we are today, celebrating the 5 years of the division is thriving today. We're growing. We have a lot of players. We're doing good. We have a great team, and we have big plans. So it's I wouldn't even have dared hoping for this when we restarted. So it's really exciting and really humbling also, because all of that is, it sounds cheesy, but all of that is really thanks to our players and our community, because without their support, without their vocal support to, show and say how much they love this game and how much they love this brand and how much they want to see it continue, we wouldn't be here and we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. So it's I've been part of that community for a long time now. It's been over 9 years at Massive for me. 9 years on the
5
Division.
years from launch does not mean 5 years from you starting the world of the Division, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I joined before Division 1 shipped, so wow. As a community developer, so I helped build that community and see that community, how much it's helped us and it's helped that game continue and survive and thrive, and seeing some of the names and the faces in this community that have been with us since I started, and some of them before I started, and seeing those people still so engaged and so so supportive, it's really humbling, and it's a one of a kind community, and I'm just so proud of what we've done with them. So no big announcement, but just a big message of love.
Well, thank you so much for coming to share that, Yannick. It's like, we love to talk about new things. We love to talk about where games are at, but we also love to take a moment to reflect and celebrate. We did that yesterday with Far Cry. It was the 20th anniversary today. We're talking Division 5th anniversary. And folks, that story that Yannick was telling you about in terms of how the game was, at some point was going to start to be sunset, but then came back because the community was so engaged and so passionate. Yeah. We have an interview with Yannick. It's a written interview that you can read, this article. I'm sharing the link again in chat. And please check it out if you're not familiar with the story, because it's a really interesting one, a really unique one for Ubisoft, I think, and also fun and inspiring. With I want to say happy ending, but it's not over, Yannick. We're still going.
There will be a happy ending one day, but not today.
But not today. Yannick, thank you so much for joining us for this part of the stream, folks. We're going to keep streaming and keep playing, and we're going to be taking all your build suggestions as we look for Kelso and have some fun with the Division 2. But where Yannick is, it's late on a Friday night, and the man needs to go after a long day of work. So thank you again, Yannick. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, and thanks for giving me a chance to talk about the game and the brand I love. Well, good luck playing the game. Don't die. You just got rid of the rogues, so I'm very impressed and proud of you. You got this.
Thank you, thank you.
Yes.
All right.
Keep doing what
We
you're
impressed
doing.
them, Chris.
We got